And we're off. This is the great classic rock debate. I'm Kenny,
I'm Paul with zero qualifications.
And I'm Steve.
and we talk anything and everything classic rock. We try to keep it interesting and we try to have fun. If you're watching right now, please like, comment, and subscribe. We will love you for that. This past week, we had two deaths that are at least noteworthy within the music universe. One was Greg Kihn, who's not so much a classic rocker, but he made a couple of pretty good songs back in the early mid 80s period and got quite a bit of MTV airplay. So we're going to give him a mention, and then we're going to go into Jack Russell, who was a founding member and I think the lead vocalist of Great White. Yeah, and so we'll just talk about both of those. And since our Greg Kihn contribution will be less, we'll just start with him and then move on from there. So I'm going to say this first. Do you guys, either one of you, remember? And Steve, I know you're at a disadvantage. You're younger. Do you guys remember the song from summer of 1981? It was called "The Breakup Song" by Greg Kihn.
Of course.
Okay, I wasn't
sure. Of
sure.
course, yeah.
Okay, so here I'm working a summer job in an electronics firm, and I work in a stock room, and we've got one of those little cheapo AM/FM radios on the front counter, and I'm hearing that song pretty often, and I'm going, I don't know who it is, but that's a pretty good song. So when they finally said his name, Greg Kihn, I looked him up in the record store, and it's got a unique spelling, Kihn, whatever, and that song was played throughout that entire summer, 1981. And honestly, it was just a good song. It's not like a rocker type of song, but it's a pop rock. Paul, am I wrong? Is it probably go more into the Bryan Adams type of, or Pat Benatar type of sphere of rock?
Yeah, but he's in his own. It's hard to explain him.
Right. I agree. And this was just before MTV, because this is 81. And by the next year, MTV was really taken off. Okay. And we're going to come back to MTV in a second. But this was my first song ever that I heard from Greg Kihn, and I really liked it. And based upon the sound, I certainly thought this guy is going to crank out more hits before it's all said and done. Do you have any more thoughts on the breakup song?
No, I liked it. I just liked it a lot. It's a weird song. I mean, it's not weird in the sound, but like you said, and classic rock was back then, and I think it led to its demise, and not because of Greg Kihn, but they're trying to appeal to too many different, like you said, Pat Benatar and Bryan Adams. I'm like, cuts like a knife. I want to cut my head off when I hear that song.
Right.
It's kind of like the Jay Giles band, where it's a little bit of rock, but
that's a good one, Steve.
That is good.
Like
that's a good analogy. Yeah. So, but I thought that song in particular had enough of a rock edge that if they were to play it on classic rock, I don't think anybody would be offended. Whereas I thought Jeopardy was much more of not only was it more of a pop song, but it even had kind of almost like a dance beat to it,
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah, right. So it was a kind of a different song. All right. So from the summer of 1981, our first exposure to Greg Kihn, the breakup song, which I think still sounds good to this day. We're going to fast forward to the early part of oh, by the way, and I've got it right here. The breakup song went to number 15 in the summer of 1981. I'm telling you, I heard it constantly throughout that whole summer. So when I hear it, it takes me back instantly to that stock room where I was working as a 20-year-old college kid, right? All right, so we're going to fast forward now to the early part of 1983. MTV is a thing now, and he releases this song Jeopardy, and it just took off. Yes. And listen, if you've never seen the video, it's a perfect illustration of how $0 were budgeted for videos back in those days. It was simply, okay, we found some spare change under the sofa. Make it work with this.
Make it work, baby.
Yeah, because the videos were, I mean, they were awful, but they were charming, They were not big budget projects. It was something that the artists themselves would participate in. And oftentimes they would play out a little skit or whatever, terrible graphics. But he had this video for Jeopardy, very low budget. I watched it the other day. I can't believe how bad it was. But man, that song sold millions. And I know that there was an extended version that I'm pretty sure was played in nightclubs.
Oh, because I thought the extended version was called "Let's Make a Deal."
No, it was the original.
Let's make a deal.
No, I was going to make a bad Jeopardy joke because it came out about the same time, Jeopardy the game show, and that song. So sorry.
Jeopardy the game show was around way before that. You're too young to know.
Oh, yeah. I guess when Alex Trebek took over.
Okay, that's about right. You're correct. Okay, just a quick apology to anybody who's watching right now for Paul's awful joke. Okay, so anyway, in March, Jeopardy charted in March of '83. It went to number 2 on the charts and was blocked from reaching number 1 by Michael Jackson. So that's how it was. Beat It. That's how big. That's how big that song was in March, April, May of 1983. Okay, now we're going to fast forward again to 1985, all right? And this song is called Lucky. And I sent you guys the video.
Oh, my God.
Now, let me tell you why I have such memories of this song. In 1985, I've mentioned this before, I was competing in bodybuilding and I was getting ready for the Mr. West Palm Beach contest, which was going to be at the end of May. There were no tanning salons back in those days. So if I had 15 minutes of sunlight, I ran out to the pool and laid out, because you had to work to get a tan. You couldn't just go to a salon. You had to work and make an effort to get a tan. And I would always carry my radio with me. And I kept hearing this song, Lucky. Every time I'm out there with my radio trying to get a tan, I kept hearing Lucky. And I'm going, I don't know what it is about that song, but it's catchy. I like it. So it didn't go near as high on the charts as his other ones. Lucky went to number 30, and it was only on the charts for 4 weeks, which would have been basically the month of April in 1985. But so it really, when I hear it, it takes me right back to that moment. Again, it has an awful low budget video. But Paul, I know you're not going to remember this, but years ago, 20, 25 years ago, I don't know where we were or what we were doing, but out of the clear blue sky, you started singing that song, Lucky. And I go, oh my God, I can't believe he even knows the song, but you were singing it and you knew the lyrics too. I was like, unbelievable. So anyway, those are my little Greg Kihn stories, and they're all, for me, they're just great.
Yeah, dude, I almost got teary-eyed when you sent me Lucky, because like you said, I used to love that song.
Yeah.
But back then I couldn't afford to get, he didn't come out on CD right away. So it might have been years. So then I had no way to get it. I wasn't going to buy an album anymore.
CDs were not really becoming a thing until '86. They existed.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So by then,
remember, you and I went someplace and we got Timepieces by Eric Clapton, and Steve, it was a AAD.
Right.
So basically, someone put a digital recording of a crap analog recorder, so you could hear
a cassette tape transferred over to digital. Yeah, basically.
And you can hear all the cracks and pops and hiss, right?
Yeah.
So great. That song, although I worship that song, it just, oh my God. So I don't know if I maybe met a woman that in that song. I don't know. I had some kind of what do you call it? Freudian thought in my background. That song, that guy. That's number 1. Number 2, Steve knows what I'm talking about. Both those videos are chroma keyed, so they're just like, it's a video thing where he has a little lever and he's here I am here. Oh my God, a bulldog, a bulldog chasing me, right? And that's
Velociraptor.
Velociraptor, and they were so terrible, but that's what makes them good. Like,
totally. That you just said it right there. They're so awful, but that's what makes them good, and that's why, for me, the early days of MTV were fun. I kept it on 24/7. I know I can hear the song on the radio, but watching those cheesy videos was fun. Once they started to become big money, multi-million-dollar projects, it wasn't fun anymore.
Like November Crap. Rain. All right.
So hold on. I just want to say this really quick. Anything else about Lucky that you want to add?
Not about that song, but I got other stuff. Go ahead.
Okay, so all I want to say about Greg Kihn is, so he passed away of Alzheimer's at the age of 76. It's very sad, and if you've ever had a loved one go through that, it's awful. Okay,
It's awful.
But what I found out was that after he recorded several 80s albums, and then that was it. He became a DJ at a San Francisco radio station and became this enormous radio personality.
Oh, I didn't know that.
In California. Yeah, it's great. But he had that look about him. He was just kind of a goofy, fun kind of guy, whatever. So okay, I assume that you're going to tell the Auburn story.
Well, yeah, the year of 85.
I think it was 85.
You were gone.
Yeah.
And I left the fraternity. I was still trying to finish up, which I didn't. Yeah, so he came to the Teak House and he played there and we paid him. And everybody said, Paul, you should have met him. He was so cool. It was like the nicest.
Okay, for me, just the thought that this guy who has hit songs on the radio was willing to come play at a fraternity house. And I think it was like a quirk of fate. I think he was touring and was just in that area.
Yeah.
And basically
that's what happened a lot.
Yeah. And basically said, yeah, I'll do it. What the hell? And
I'll take the $2,000.
Right. He came and played at a fraternity house at Auburn University. And to me, that says so much about him. Because how many rock stars would go? Are you kidding me? I play 20,000 seat arenas or bigger. Yeah. I don't do that kind of stuff.
But yeah, they said he had no airs and he was super cool. And the last thing about Greg Kihn, and I don't know if it recharted, but he's one of those guys that Weird Al Yankovic made a video and it made his song go back.
I lost on Jeopardy. Yes.
So, all right, Steve. Sorry, buddy. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. This is all you got. I had not heard of Greg Kihn until probably about 15 years ago. At the place that I used to work at, they had one of his songs. Jeopardy was always playing like every day on Muzak, which is just their music that they pump in subscription service. Right. And I was like, is this a new song? Because it kind of sounds like an 80s song, but I was like, I really dig it. I mean, it's got a kind of a cool guitar part to it, and
it was catchy. So it was hard not to like that song. It was really catchy.
And so that's really the only song that I know of from him. I was too young when he was around, really in the early 80s, and plus I was in the Quiet Riot at that time, so that was my speed. But
fair enough.
Great song, and yeah, terrible to hear about his passing. So, and it's really cool that he would play a frat house. So that's
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, we're going to go ahead and move into Great White before we run out of time. But I just always had a very high opinion of him based upon the songs and then the fraternity thing or whatever. So sad to see him go, but rest in peace, Greg Kihn. Okay. Jack Russell, lead vocalist, founding member of Great White, passed away. There wasn't much about the cause of death, but it was a very unusual.
He had lots of health problems, like 4 and 5 distinct issues.
Okay.
Yeah, I met a guy when
63, by the way. He's my age. It's not like he was 80.
Pretty young.
Yeah.
I saw them about 15 years ago at the Whiskey, and the guy sat next to me. He goes, "Oh, I'm like his best friend." And when he came up, they hugged, and he goes, he had he hurt himself really bad skydiving, and then he did something else. He had this disease. The guy, I'm surprised he made it that long with all of his issues.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, do you guys recall the first time you ever heard any sort of a Great White song?
Oh yeah, I'll never forget.
Go ahead, Steve.
I was on my way to a Little League baseball game when Once Bitten, Twice Shy came on. And I wasn't a big fan of the song. And there's a line in that song, until I saw your picture on another guy's jacket. And I wondered, do people really put, pictures of themselves or their picture on other, their significant other's jacket? Was that a thing? I was just curious.
Okay. Now, Paul, that song was originally done by somebody else, right?
Yes. Ian Hunter.
And I think it was in the 70s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the 70s, correct. In the 70s, a picture on a jacket might have seemed more realistic. I don't think in the 80s it seemed very realistic.
Okay.
But and by the way, that song was an enormous hit. Hang on. Where did I? Oh,
it's got to be their most popular song.
Oh, by far. Yeah.
And I wasn't a big fan, but
it went to number 5 in the summer of 1989. And yeah, originally recorded by Ian Hunter in 1975. So that was 14 years prior. Okay, now my first encounter with Great White was actually 2 years before that, because in 87, I was hearing a song on one of the rock stations, and that song is Rock Me. Can I assume you guys know that? Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
A decent enough song. I didn't know who sang it until they finally said Great White. And when they said that, I'm like, okay, I never heard of these guys. It's an okay song. But for me, it wasn't enough to say, man, I can't wait to hear what's next from them, you know? So I heard that song. I kind of liked them. But then the next song I heard by them was Once Bitten, Twice Shy, which for me, very catchy song. When I eventually became a DJ, it was a song I played a lot under the right, circumstances. However, in 1989, it was so overplayed. I got to the point where I almost never wanted to hear it again.
That's how I am. I've heard it 2,000 times.
Here's something funny before we go into the songs. My ex-girlfriend, now they came out about the same time as this other band called White Lion.
Correct.
Yes.
So
correct.
So Jennifer would say, "Is this Great White Lion?" She would say, "Is this?" And I'm like, I don't know. And then finally, her and I and her friend decided to call both bands White Yak. So we started calling them White Yak, not because and then the White Lion faded away, right? They had that one hit song or whatever it was.
They had kind of two songs.
All right, two songs. And then Great White, man, they pumped out some majorly good stuff. So let's just keep going.
Right. Okay. So, which brings me, I didn't hear this song until after Once Bitten, Twice Shy, but it was actually from the same album as Rock Me, and that song was called Save Your Love.
Oh yeah, great song.
Which is probably more in the power ballad sort of category, I guess. Yeah. But when I finally heard that, I go, "Wow, that's a good song," and I'm surprised that I didn't hear it a couple of years ago when I was hearing Rock Me all the time. And then not long after that, I finally heard House of Broken Love, which for me, possibly their best song ever. I think it's a masterpiece. Again, kind of a power ballad, phenomenal guitar solo in there, and very bluesy. And I just think it just has all the pieces that you want a great song to have.
Yeah, once I kind of discovered more about Great White over the years, I realized all I knew about them growing up was kind of Once Bitten, Twice Shy. But then I heard some more of the records, and they really are or were, a real blues-oriented rock band.
Yeah,
absolutely.
A lot of classic rock and roll parts to their songs. Even there's the piano in Once Bitten, Twice Shy. So I have had a lot more respect for them as I got older.
I totally agree. And what's funny about that is, for years and years, I really didn't think that much of them. I mean, they made so many albums, but they were not on the radio that much. And I just thought, these guys make a lot of records, but don't sell that many or whatever. It wasn't until years after the fact that I started listening to their albums and going, oh my God, these guys are a phenomenal rock band. They really are. And their body of work is not at all represented by radio, because they were phenomenally talented musicians.
It's a crime.
Yeah, it really is. It really
is. That's a very brilliant point that you just said, that it's really a shame, because their best stuff was not the stuff that got played on the radio.
Correct. Yeah.
They have like that song was on Hooked called Desert Moon. That's one of my favorite songs of all time. And it's just, so I saw them, and they did a bunch of stuff. Like they went to Mr. Bone, right? You know that song?
Yes.
When she's in the middle. Okay. So they played that song. And then by then this was, Great White had split off into Great White with Jack Russell, Great White. And then there was Great White with Mark, whatever the guy's name is.
Oh, it's Roy Scheider.
The band's named after him. And it's
Mark Kendall.
Yes, that's it. Kendall. And so they go from Mr. Bone into Voodoo Child by Hendrix. And they combined on. I was like, whoa, now. And then they did a Led Zeppelin one. I forgot.
They covered "Since I've Been Loving You," and I did not know
Yes.
that song.
Yes.
I haven't heard that. I've never heard it before. So
Yeah,
So
it's
they
good.
did a Led Zeppelin that night, and people were going crazy, and it was a really, really good show at the Whiskey. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they got robbed by the radio. That's why you should. Radio sucks.
Was
Yeah,
Roy Scheider in the offshoot band?
They're the same band. You're funny.
It's
terrible. You guys, sometimes I want to disown you guys.
But what's fascinating is, like,
or was it Robert Shaw?
The first time he said Roy Scheider, it didn't click, and then I go, "Oh God, that's a Paul joke."
It is. I know.
That's how offensive it was.
The difference is, I say it deadly serious. Paul kind of laughs when he.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Fair enough. Here's what's funny: is like, how does it come to the band? Kenny, you guys are frozen up. I'll wait.
Oh,
that's got to be you.
Okay, yeah, I think so. Steve? All right.
I can see you guys perfectly.
It's fascinating how the band splits up, and they're both two. Like when I saw them, like 3 days later, Great White was playing again in L.A. I'm like, hold on, I just saw them. And someone said, one of my friends at the gym goes, "Oh, that's the other Great White."
Right. Right.
And I'm like, this is just bizarre. So like
Josh
some judge.
Okay, now it is my opinion. You guys tell me what you think of this. Based upon their timing, which almost mirrors Warrant. Okay, based upon their timing, they were coming to prominence in the late 80s and in the 90s when rock shifted directions and went into grunge and alternative. Bands like this kind of just got left behind. They're still making records. Radio is kind of pushing them away, saying, yeah, that's 80s. We don't want that. And I think that's what happened.
Yeah, they were kind of late to the party. And that's the unfortunate thing is that had they come out or made it, had they charted a few years earlier, they probably would have been able to sustain more success in the 90s.
Right. And they sort of get categorized as a hair band, which
they're not a hair band.
It's not a compliment. When someone's called a hair band, it's not a compliment. I don't think they deserve that at all. I think they're better than that.
I heard someone call Tesla a hair band, and if I'd have been in the room with them, I would have broken their neck. I would have said, you got 10 seconds to die.
Oh, you always handle things with such composure.
Yeah. That's actually that could be a cool name for a song.
What?
10 seconds to die.
Yeah.
No, but that's right, because you're right though, Paul. I've heard people make that comment before about Tesla, and I'm like, no, they
no.
Right.
They are not a hair band. They are a heavy blues based rock band.
Right.
And they kick your ass, you know.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm gonna do it for them.
Yeah. And any band who names themselves Tesla, seriously, right away, they are just more intellectual than the other guys. They are.
Yes.
The fact that exactly. Okay, now let's fast forward to 2003. So Great White had been recording albums all the way from mid 80s, all the way, I think 2002 was their last album before the big incident at, was it Rhode
Providence.
Island?
In Rhode Island.
Providence.
Yeah, okay. So they were playing in some fairly small venue. And apparently the pyrotechnics that they brought with them on the road when they're doing concerts was for a much larger scale venue, especially like an open air type of place, a stadium or whatever. But this club that they were playing in was small and it had like an 8-foot ceiling. I know that when I saw the videotape, my first thought before anything had even happened, my first thought was, look how low the ceilings are. I didn't know how the videotape was going to play out. I just heard that there had been a fire or whatever. So I'm watching the videotape. It's a small club. The ceilings are incredibly low. And all of a sudden you see they were positioned all around the stage, the pyrotechnic devices. And it was almost like volcanoes going off. They're flamethrowers. They're shooting these enormous fireballs, which are just blasting directly into the ceiling. And within seconds, the entire place was engulfed in flame. And it was unbelievable to watch it and say to yourself, somebody thought this was okay. I mean, somebody set up those pyrotechnic devices who has set them up before and knows how they work. And it didn't cross their mind that, oh, this is going to be a problem. Man, what a tragedy. What a horrific tragedy that was.
The three of us, and I don't know Steve as well. I mean, when I say this, Steve, I don't know what Ohio is like. Kenny and I, Florida is newer in the country than Ohio. So when we go to places, they're newer, made of different materials. But when you go up to Chicago, like I've been up in New York and other places, it's old places. They're smaller
Right.
and they're much more compact.
Right.
Yeah, they're built 50, 60 years ago.
Like,
or more,
Kenny and
yeah.
I would have said, okay, I'm going to come in this place, but I'm standing near the door.
Right.
I would have never.
And that place, it had like one door in the back and one door in the front.
Yeah.
I mean, a door, not like
There's
a big.
no way I'm
a
going to that
single
place.
door.
I have been in Ohio, many small clubs like that in my life.
Oh,
that fit like 200, 250 people in it, but they don't shoot off bottle rockets, let alone like huge fires that you would get from a
Right.
deep fried turkey.
well,
Right.
I mean, it really is like just a lack of common sense when you see that video. You're like, how would somebody think that would be possible?
hey, especially after, I'm not trying to be funny, Michael Jackson almost got his head burned off,
Right.
making it in a bigger place. I mean, hold on, Michael Jackson had a big crew and all.
Well, so Metallica, Kiss shoots off pyro at every one of their concerts, but they're in.
No, but I'm just saying, Michael Jackson caught on fire, dude.
I know.
His head was on fire, so you're like, hold on.
Yeah.
These people know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Let's cut this crap for tonight. Like I was at a place in Chicago, Steve, and it was a comedy club, and we went in there, and I was with my first wife, and I could rub elbows with the next table. I could literally rub that guy's elbow if I wanted to, and I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore. So I said, can we move our table? And the guy goes, okay. And then I said, if there's a fire here, Paul Fields is going to get out of there. That I can promise you. I don't care about anybody else. I'm getting out of there. If I have to just walk on top or bulldoze, I'm getting out. But
most people don't go into places thinking about the fire. It's just that they happen to light off.
No, but this place, I'm telling you about, it had fire candles at the tables. I'm like, who thought this was a good idea? Like,
I see what you're saying. All right.
Just bad.
Well, in the club where this thing happened in Rhode Island, there was just one door in the back and one door in the front, and
bottleneck.
It happened to bottleneck. It happened so fast and people couldn't get out. So one band member died in the fire, and I don't know, 10 or 15 other people died also. Yeah, it's just a terrible thing. And
did anyone? I don't even know. I should look it up. Did anyone go to jail or?
Yeah, the tour manager.
Yeah.
He got sentenced to 15 years, but I think he only served like 2 years.
Yeah, something like that. You're right.
And I bet there was no insurance or anything either. They were like,
I'm sure you're right. I am sure you're right. Yeah.
Because I mean, think about it. Those bands, if you're playing at the club level, you're lucky if you break even for the most part. I mean, if you really think about it. I mean, do the math. I mean, you got a couple hundred people in there. They're paying $20 a ticket.
Right.
Your travel costs. I mean, what are you making per show? And that's kind of a sad commentary on the state of rock today, but it is what it is. So
it is what it is, especially once bands are no longer in the spotlight. Like they can still be playing great, but if they're not on the radio or on MTV or whatever, it doesn't matter. You're not going to command the big prices.
That's terrible.
Yeah. So anyway, that happened in 2003. I kind of assumed at that time that probably would be the end for Great White. However, in 2007, they recorded a new album, Back to the Rhythm, another one in 2009, Rising, another in 2012, Elation, and then in 2017, Full Circle. And like you said, Paul, they had these split offs where Jack Russell put together his own version of Great White. And so there was a few other albums involved there. But anyway, they continued recording after the tragedy. And I assume now that with the death of Jack Russell, that's probably going to be the end. But then again, who knows? Maybe there'll be some other version.
Well, they had the other version with the guy with Mark.
Oh, Mark
and
Kendall.
They had another singer. I don't know the guy's name. And I don't know if that was the band that recorded those albums you just said, or if it was Jack Russell who recorded the albums. But
I'm not even sure either, to tell you the truth.
It gets pissy matches. Like
It
every
gets
band,
confusing.
like Danzig and the Misfits, they had the same thing going on. Like Danzig wouldn't let the other guys in the Misfits tour as the Misfits, and they finally come to some deal. But
Oh, okay.
the egos, and money. Of course, it's money.
Right.
Yeah, it's
anyway, when it's all said and done, and again, our purpose here tonight is to honor Jack Russell. When it's all said and done, Great White, for me, they were a phenomenal band who probably didn't get their due. Had this really tragic incident in 2003 that, they recorded more, but at the time it happened, it certainly was a terrible blow to the band. And in retrospect, I can go back and listen to their albums now and really appreciate and enjoy what they did, the music they made. Very talented band who never really got their due. But if you get a chance, download some of it and check it out. It's really good stuff. And rest in peace, Jack Russell.
Yeah, rest in peace. I wonder why all these really good singers, him and Dio and these other, they're all little tiny guys.
Yeah.
They're all like, Jack Russell was probably 5 feet tall.
Yeah, he was small. Yeah.
And
is that his real name?
That's a good question. I think it is.
Because maybe he was nicknamed after the dog, which are little dogs.
There you go, Steve.
Jack, his real name, also, Jack Patrick Russell.
Great White. The other offshoot of Great White was playing in Sturgis, the motorcycle in South Dakota, at Bike Week they call it.
What do you mean? Now or then?
Yeah, just a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's and so is Quiet Riot too, by the way, when Frankie Bonelli, who was like the last original member of the band, passed away a couple of years ago. So it is kind of crazy how some of these things carry on.
Yeah.
So that night I saw them at the Whiskey. So Jack Russell was up there on the balcony because there was like 4 other bands there with his wife. And then the people start coming in. But the Whiskey, it's on Sunset Boulevard. So when you take stuff out, when you let's say Jack Russell, they're going in, Great White, and then Bullet Boys are there before them. Bullet Boys have got to get their crap out while Great White's moving their crap in. Like they're literally running into each other because there's nowhere else for them to go. And Sunset Boulevard is a 5-foot sidewalk, and there's the road. This is L.A. On the Hollywood Strip. So they're all set up and they're looking around, and I'm like, I guess the lead guitar player's not showing up. So a guy walks in. He's a taller guy, and he has a guitar in his face, and he walks in. He's wearing a suit. He just walks up, plugs in, hits a couple notes, and they start playing. Like he walked in there a minute and a half when he started playing.
Wow,
the real pro.
And I was like,
I'll say
a hired gun. He reminded me of a hired gun. Like he walks in, shoots the guy, and goes home. And I was like, wow, okay, I guess this dude's that good. Whoever he is,
I guess he is. Yeah. Okay. Well, guys, let's wrap it up. We're just about out of time. Any final thoughts or comments or anything about either Greg Kihn or Jack Russell or Great White?
Just shows if you work hard, you can make some money, and these guys, they deserve our applause.
Yeah. Underrated. Don't check. I mean, go beyond the hits. Check out some of the deeper album tracks.
Yeah.
You'll find some gems.
Yeah. And then also, just as a final thought, we've talked about this before. At our age, the guys who we kind of grew up listening to, they're passing away. It's that time, so it hits you, but at the same time, you can't be too shocked by it. Okay, well, listen, we're going to call it a night then. So for now, this is the Great Classic Rock Debate. I'm Kenny.
I'm Paul.
I'm Steve.
If you're watching right now, please like, comment, and subscribe. We will love you for that. Until we meet again, we'll see you next time.